transformation. My experience, again, also cuts across Africa. I'm from Nigeria originally, Africa, Europe, and North America. I went to Obafemi Awolowo University. Any great Ife here? Shout out if you're here, Awolowo University. And then I went to business school in England, London Met, co-founder of Helping Other People Succeed and lead trainer coach at Stacey and Lloyd Consulting. So let's get started. Organizations, businesses, nations formulate strategies, initiate projects for several reasons. And one of the reasons why organizations initiate projects or formulate strategy is the happening within the local operating environment that the organization operates in. At the beginning of every year, you see organizations go into what they typically call strategy sessions. And one of the techniques that they use in understanding the next direction is the SWOT analysis. And SWOT analysis takes a look at the internal and the external component of the organization, where the organization plays in. And the O part of SWOT analysis looks at the opportunities within the environment that the business operates in, the happenings in the environment that the organization can sort of explore. And then they also look at threats. Threats are the things that are happening in the environment, the direction, the actors and factors, the direction that they are pushing, and how that direction can impact negatively the organization. And from that, they will be able to come up with strategies or initiatives or even projects. So in 2013, from 2012 to 2015, there have been a lot of adoption of mobile technology in Nigeria, and it's been growing tremendously. And this growth serves as either an opportunity for businesses that play in that market, or a threat for organizations or businesses that play in that market. And as a result of that growth, as a result of that adoption of mobile technology, several organizations initiate projects to leverage that adoption, to leverage that growth. So in Nigeria, there was a company, a bank, let's say Bank A. They decided that given the huge adoption of mobile technology in the country, it would be a lot better for them to set up an initiative or to deliver a project or a service that leverages on mobile technology to better service their clients or to better improve the experience that the clients are having when they're transacting with them. As every typical traditional organization, Bank A decided to create a plan, an approach, a method for delivering that product. And some of the things that they said was, okay, great, we know the product that we want to deliver, but we're going to start by gathering requirements. We're going to start by understanding what the user community wants. We're going to try and understand what the requirements are, what the needs are, what the expectations are for this new product that we're launching. And then they said, after we're done with gathering all of the requirements in a phase called requirement gathering, we're going to go into the next phase where we'll do a virtual design of what the end product will look like. And they call that phase solution design. And they said, after we're done with designing the mock-up of what the solution is going to look like or what the product is going to look like, we'll review it to all the stakeholders again. We're going to get approval from them. And once we have approval and sign off, we'll then go into development, where we're going to start creating that product using the solution design that we created from our understanding of the requirements and the needs. And when we're done with the development of that product, then we will do some bit of validation or some bit of verification where we're going to test to see if that design and the development meets all the expectations or the requirements. And after that, we will launch. So they spent about 3 to 4 months creating this approach, creating this method. Watertight, very fantastic approach to delivering product or to developing product. And then they started. They went into requirement gathering, spent about 3 months asking users, asking stakeholders to give them an understanding of how they want that product to behave. Give them an understanding of the functions that they want to perform in the product. Everything that they want, let us know. so that we can build it. After about 3 months, they got approval for the requirements. And then they moved into solution design, and they got their UI UX designers to start designing the solution or start designing the product. And they did this for another, say, 4 months to 5 months. And they got approval for the solution, and then they moved into development. The development was supposed to last for about 6 months. But 3 months into the development, another company went into the market with that same product that Bank A was launching. The same product, but few differences. Now what happened? A lot of people started thinking, what happened? Was there someone in Bank A that revealed the secret to Bank B? Or was it that Bank A actually started, Bank B started way before Bank A? And after analysis, after understanding, after studying the model that Bank A was using and the model that Bank B was using, we realized that Bank A started with what we call the traditional waterfall approach of developing products. But what Bank B did was not to use the traditional waterfall approach, was to use an iterative approach. The approach that is popularly known as Agile methodology. And after launching the product, after Bank B launched the product, they literally became the market leader in that space. They literally got everybody that's been waiting for Bank A's product to get on their product. But again, upon reviewing the product that Bank B launched into the market, we realized some differences. When they launched the first product, it had just very few functionalities, very few features. But it didn't stop there. They launched the product with, say, 5 features. And they gave the 5 features to the customers, to the users to start using. And while they were socializing the features with the customers, they started asking them again, what are the other features? What are the other requirements? What are the other functionalities or capabilities would you like to see in this product? And that's how they won the market. That's how they became the leader in the market. So let's look at the method, the approach that Bank A used very briefly, and the approach that Bank B used very briefly. So the approach that Bank A used is called traditional waterfall. It's a phase gate approach for developing product, for delivering software, for doing anything at all. And usually starts with, well, the approval from senior management, understanding that, yes, this is a product that we want to launch and all of that. And then they spend some time meeting with the users, meeting with the stakeholders, and asking them, tell us everything that you want to see in this product. That phase is called, or that stage is called requirement gathering. And we all know that at times, people can't really understand or people can't really articulate what they want at the beginning. Also, at times, some people don't even know what they want until they see something. But this approach says, no, I want you to tell me everything that you want in this product so that I can deliver it. If there are people who don't really understand or can't really effectively articulate what they want, they'll give them some time. Okay, you know what? I'm going to give you 1 week and I'm going to come back after 1 week. Please prepare all the requirements, all the needs, all the capabilities that you want in the product. Until we finish requirement gathering, we're not moving forward. And that's why it's called waterfall. And once we gather all the requirements, we confirm all the requirements from everybody, then we get approval for that requirement. And once we get approval, we're not gathering requirements anymore. We're not eliciting needs anymore. We then move to system design or solution design. When we're in system design or solution design, we're not gathering requirements anymore. We've closed shop on requirement gathering. We're now in design. We're now using the requirements that we've gathered, the needs that we've elicited. We're now using that to design the system, to design the solution. This again can take about 2 months. Once we're done with design, the entire system design, then we'll review it with everybody that's involved, and then we get approval. Once we get approval, we close shop on system design, and then we go into implementation. And it's in implementation that we're actually writing the code, writing the instruction. When we're in implementation or when we're in development, we're not doing anything related to design anymore. We've closed shop on that. We've passed that stage. When we're in development, we're not doing anything related to needs or requirements anymore. We've passed that stage. And then when we're done with development of everything, then we will go into user testing, where we then bring in representatives from the user community, and then we give them what we've developed and tell them to ask them to test it to see if it meets their needs or their expectations. If everything is fine, which is almost practically impossible, but if everything is fine, then we deploy the solution and we launch to the market. But we all know that, so even before going into that, just let's look at this. So we went to meet users, stakeholders, businesses in January, and we told them we're launching a new product, and we asked them what they would like to get from the product or how they would like the product to behave. So they told us in January, and we left them. And then we didn't interact with them anymore. We didn't engage with them until after 7 months or 6 months or 8 months, when we're done with development. And we say, hey, remember in January, we came to you and we said, can you kind of look at this thing that we've done, that we've built for you? Automatically, it's possible that the needs of the stakeholders, their requirements may have changed from the last time we went to meet them to the time when we are coming to them with the product to test. Also in 2016, there was a study that was done by Standish Group about value that software deliver to users and the number of features that users use on products. And then at the end, they came up with a report that says that 67% of features on a typical software product is never used or rarely used. And then I'm thinking, what happened? Maybe they got the requirements right at that time, but a lot of things usually change. And then because needs change, and because when the needs change, we're not interacting with them, we're not collaborating with them, we went ahead to deliver the product based on the requirement that we gathered in January. So that's exactly the methodology or the approach that Bank A used. This is good in and by itself, but we know that we live in a constantly changing, constantly evolving market, where needs are changing almost every day, where disruption is happening in the market almost every day. If there was no competition, maybe this would be great. If the needs and the expectations and the positions of the users don't change frequently, maybe this is good. But that's not the case. Now let's look at the method or the approach that Bank B used. That approach is called Agile approach or Agile methodology. And as against using a phased gate approach, as against using a linear sequential approach for delivering product or services, these guys use iterative approach. So what they say basically is, hey, we know that it's possible that you don't know everything that you want from a product from day one. We also don't know how the product is going to behave. So as against doing requirement gathering, as against asking you within 1 month to tell us everything that you want in the product, we're going to be asking you in iterations. And we're going to focus on your most important immediate need. So we're going to be working in cycle. The first cycle, we're going to come to you. We're going to ask you for your needs, your immediate needs. The things that you think you need right now. We're going to ask you for those things, just those things. You give it to us, and in a cycle, in 2 weeks, in 3 weeks, in 1 month, we will turn around and make those needs into a functional product. And after about a month, we will give you something to start using. And then we're going to ask you again, while you're already using the first few features, we're going to ask you again, what are the other things that you want to have in this new product? What are the other things that you want this product to be able to do? What are the other capabilities that you want to develop in this product while you are already using the first version that we've given to you? And then you tell us, okay, well, I'm able to top up my credit. I'm able to check my balance. I also want to be able to transfer from my account to another bank. Oh, that's another thing that you want? Great, we'll collect that. And then in 1 month, we will analyze that requirement. We will design for just those requirements. We will develop for just those requirements. We will test for those requirements, and we'll give it to you again. So as against building a big bank product, we're building products incrementally. We're building small, and we're constantly improving the features. We're constantly improving the performance or the functionality of the product. We're constantly improving the experience that you're having. Also, if you want a change in some of those products, you can tell us at any time. We will accommodate that. So that's the method that the second bank used, and that's how they were able to first launch the product faster than anybody and become the leader in the market. And that's the method that we're going to focus on in this session. Now let's put the two side by side, and let's see the value that they are creating at the end of every phase or at the end of every stage. Bank A used what we call the traditional waterfall approach, and Bank B used the iterative or incremental approach called Agile. So put the two side by side, and let's assume, for the sake of explanation and for the sake of simplicity, that each phase took 1 month. Requirement gathering took 1 month for Bank A. Design took 1 month for Bank A. Implementation took 1 month. UAT took 1 month, and then launch took 1 month. So at the end of the first month, what Bank A would have created will be a document that contains everything that must be in the product. To the users, we haven't seen anything. To the users, we can't use the document because it's not performing any function. But let's look at Bank B. Bank B will use 1 month to very quickly identify the first set of needs that the users have. And then in that 1 month, they'll design the first few needs. They will implement or develop the first few needs. They will test the first few needs. And at the end of 1 month, they're going to be launching a product that has at least some features based on the immediate need or expectations of the users. So at the end of month 1, Bank B is going to launch a product that has limited set of features that the users, the customers, can start using from month A, from month 1. Whereas what Bank A will create will be a document, a watertight document, very detailed document, but that's not what the customer wants. That's not what the users want. So Bank A, the second month, will pick the document, the business requirement document, and then we'll turn it into a design. And at the end of the second month, What Bank A will create again will be another document that shows something slightly different, but not delivering any value to the customers because the customers can't use the design. But Bank B, using the incremental delivery or the agile methodology, will ask the users, the customers, again, now you're using these 2-3 features on this product. Are there any other things that you think you want to use? Are there any other functions that you think the product should be performing? And then the customers will say, yes, I want to be able to do this, this, and this again. And then they'll pick those 2 things again, or those 3 things again. And they'll very rapidly, within 1 month, create something that is functional. And they'll send it again to the customers. Now, this customer is having, at the end of month 2, they're having something that they add in month 1, plus additional functionalities or capabilities. Now they have a product that has 6 features. Now, month 3, Bank A, using traditional waterfall, we now pick the design document and we now start development. We now start writing the instruction. We now start doing the configuration. And at the end of the 3rd month, they will have created something that looks like the end product, but hasn't been tested. Because we've not done anything called testing. We've not checked it. We've not verified it. So they'll create something, but we can't launch the thing yet. We can't even give it to users to use yet because we haven't validated it. We haven't verified it. We haven't checked it. So they tell the users or customers, we're almost done. We've done the implementation. The next phase is to go into testing. But Bank B, using agile methodology, at the end of month 2, will launch the product and they will ask the users, now we're going to work again in the next 1 month. What are the additional things that you want? And then the customers, the users will say, okay, well, I want you to correct this feature. I want you to improve this feature. I want you to add this additional feature. And then at the end of month 1, month 3, they will launch another product, the same product, with an additional enhancement or with an additional capability. And then at the end of month, in month 4, the Bank A guy will go in and they will do the testing, all things being equal, which they rarely are, or which they never are. Everything passes. And then they will launch the big product. So the first time ever that the customers, the users, the stakeholders of Bank A using traditional waterfall is experiencing the product is after 4 months. But with Bank B using the agile methodology, the incremental delivery, they've started enjoying the benefit of the product from month 1. And not just enjoying from month 1, they are constantly improving the enjoyment. They're constantly improving the value. They're constantly improving the experience that they have on the product. And this is the difference between the traditional waterfall and the agile methodology. So now the question is, what exactly is agile? I like this guy, Simon Sinek. He wrote this book, well, one of his books is Start With Why. I'm going to use the generic what, why, how method to introduce you to Agile and Scrum. But I'm going to flip the script a little. Apologies to Simon Sinek. I'm not going to start with why. I'm going to start with what. What is Agile? I'm a coach. I work as a consultant. I interact with a lot of people, particularly within the Agile community. And when I hear people say, oh, we started doing Agile or we're being Agile now, I always want to get an understanding of what Agile means to them. Because trust me, Agile is probably the most confused concept in product development, in software development, even in HR function these days. So I'm going to start with what is Agile. But before I tell you what Agile is, I want you to tell me what you understand by Agile. So on your phone or on your computer, can you please go to menti.com, if you will? Go to menti.com. It's going to ask you for a PIN. The PIN is 987789. 987789, menti.com. Let's do this.
Menti, is it double T?
Okay, when you're there, you're gonna get a question. Oh, great. I see, I'm gonna show you the responses. No, we got 122 people. This is massive. Great, cool stuff. Can you see my screen? Can you see the result that that we're getting, people? Can you see? Okay, I'm gonna share again. Okay, great. So let's see, what are people saying? Oh. Okay, cool. So I'm seeing a lot of interesting things, and I'm also seeing other interesting things, if you know what I mean. Someone is saying Agile means project management. That's interesting. I do a lot of stuff in project management too. But sorry, Agile is not exactly project management. All right, and you're gonna see that now. Someone says Agile is Agile. Of course, of course. Oh, Agile is strong. Agile is project implementation. I'm going to call out the ones that I like. Agile is a mindset, massive. Agile is a framework. Agile is need-based development. That's great. Agile is stamina. I like that. Cool, cool. Okay. It's fast. That's good. Agile is a mindset, 100%. Agile is seamless process. Manageable task. Fast increment. Agile is smart. Lean work. Adapt. Progressive. Productive. Stamina. Self-organizing. Close to customer. That's correct. Agile is a methodology. Lean manufacturing. I can almost guess where this is coming from. Smarter work. Okay, good. These are really great stuff. These are really great stuff. Now let's go. Let's go. Let me tell you what Agile is. Let me tell you what Agile is. Great. You can see my screen. So. A mindset shapes your behavior. The way you behave is linked to your mindset. The way you act and react is linked to your mindset. The way you see things, the way you perceive things, your attitude, your values stems from your mindset. The result that you will get based on your attitude, your behavior will originate from your mindset. Mindset is all about everything, or everything is all about mindset. The way you see people, the way you see customers, the way you see product is about mindset. Let me give you an example. I don't know it. That's Mr. A. Mr. B says, I haven't heard that before, but I'm going to learn it. And if you give me a few days, I'm going to know it. And I'm going to come back to you to tell you what it is. That's Mr. B. Mr. C says, well, this question is not for someone like me. The difference between those three people is their mindset. The guy who feels that, who says, I don't know, and I don't want to know, doesn't have a learning mindset. I tell my friends, there's really nothing that you cannot do. What you don't know is what you haven't learned. That's a mindset. I don't know it now, but I can learn it. And if you give me like a growth mindset or a learning mindset. If you see someone do something and you think about what they're doing as show off, it's your mindset. Of course, there are people who do things to show off. That's your mindset. Some people believe that intelligence is an inborn trait. Oh, some people are just born intelligent. Oh, some people are just born talented. That's a mindset. It shapes the way you see things. It shapes your action and your reaction. And your action and your reaction will give you and then looks for the way out to another place or another organization, another environment where things are somewhat better. And then another person gets into the environment, gets into the organization, gets into that setting, sees a lot of problems, and looks at those problems as opportunities for him or for her to start recommending options or ideas to solve those problems or to make the place better. The difference between these two guys is their mindset, the way they see things, their core values. So Agile, first of all, is about mindset. Our mindset to processes, our mindset to people, our mindset to value, our mindset to product development, our mindset to changes. Now, let me unpack mindset and give you a simpler definition of what Agile is. Agile is a method that uses iterative approach to create incremental product. We don't necessarily have to spend a lot of time to be perfect before we take some steps. Because mindset is also determines how you see progress. Agile uses iterative approach. I'm trying to launch a new product. I don't necessarily have to launch everything at once. If you haven't read or if you haven't seen the Standish Group report that says over 67% of product functionalities or features are rarely used or never used. you will know that there are always competitors. There are always other people that are thinking about the same thing that you're thinking about. So we don't have to make everything perfect before we take step. We're going to take some steps. If we fail, it's okay. At least we fail very fast. Also, we're going to learn from that failure. And we're going to improve the next step. I have a friend who's been trying to launch an online course. And this guy has spent a lot of time the smallest piece of an online course ever. And this is since last year. Because this guy's saying everything has to be perfect, everything has to be perfect, everything has to be perfect. That is someone who doesn't have an agile mindset. That is someone who doesn't understand what true value is. So Agile says, you may necessarily not even be perfect, but at least take a step. Learn from that step and constantly improve. And it uses iterative approach. We go to the users, we ask them for what they need, we collect it, we analyze it, we design it, we build it, we test it, we give it to them. They start using it, and then we ask them again, what are the other things that you want in this product? And then they give us again. And then another month, we go in, we ask what the customer already has, or an improved version of what the customer already has, or an improved experience from what the customer already has. And more importantly, more granularly, it's an ability to create and respond to change. It's a way of dealing with and ultimately succeeding in an environment that is uncertain, which is where we live in. So if you don't understand anything about Agile, know that one, Agile is all about mindset. It's better to start small and start early than to wait for 5 years before you take a step. Also, it's about a mindset that encourages failure, but only on 3 conditions. Agile mindset believes that failure is good, but only on 3 conditions. The first condition is, if you're going to fail, fail very fast. It's even possible that Bank-B didn't introduce that same product into the market before Bank-A even finished development. And Bank-A spent all the time that they had developing the product, and by the time they launched after 6 months, the product didn't meet the expectation or the needs of the customers. And they were like, oh, sorry, I have to reduce some things. That's waste. So failure is good. In Agile mindset, failure is good on 3 conditions. The first condition is you fail fast. You fail very fast. If you're going to make mistakes, do some things and make the mistakes very fast. Failure. But then the next thing is, okay, great. So we appreciate the fact that this doesn't meet your expectation or your needs. But what are the things that you want to be in this product to meet your needs or expectation? So you learn from that mistake. You learn from that failure. And then the third condition is you don't repeat it. Fail fast, learn from the failure, and do not repeat the failure. For Agile, try new things. Be fast about it. Learn from it, and then make it better the next time. But to make it a lot more interesting, Agile is upheld by some values and is guided by a set of principles. And those are the things that we're going to look at. When you're working in an Agile environment or when you're being Agile, there's some values. Remember that I said mindset determines your core values. When organization is operating in the state of agility or when they're being Agile, there are some values that they hold in high esteem. Those are the Agile values. And everything that they're going to be doing must be guided by a set of principles. So let's look at those values. A bit of background about these values. So some guys got together in 2001. By the way, these guys were software developers. One of the misconceptions that I hear in Agile is, oh, it's only for software development, or it's only for IT people. Not totally true. It originated from software development, right? But its application has extended even beyond software development. I used to work in Bell. Bell is telecoms. We're using Agile. I work in an insurance company right now as an Agile coach and Scrum Master. And we're using Agile, that's insurance. I've worked in several other organizations that are not tech related or IT related or software related. And they're using Agile. So these guys got together, about 17 of them, got together somewhere in the States in 2001. They were software developers. They're just chatting, just chatting away, having some drinks and all of this, and talking about the work that they do and the things that they've been seeing from the work that they do. And they realized that while they're doing the work that they do and making some changes, they're getting some values from those changes. And at the end of that session, they came up with what is popularly known now as the Agile Manifesto. And they started by saying, we're uncovering better ways of developing software, because at that time, those guys were software developers. Now you can use it for product development. You can use it for HR functions. You can use it for anything. We're uncovering, it means that we're discovering. It means we're finding out. If you don't change the way you do some things, you won't find out some things. We're uncovering better ways of developing product by doing it and helping others to do it. And through this work, we've come to value individuals and interactions over processes and tools. One of the games that I would have loved us to play if we were not online was a game I would bring papers, scissors, and all the materials needed. I'll bring it to the class. And then I'll hand it over to people individually. And I'll tell them, the assignment is you need to build a paper plane, but you must follow my steps. You must follow the processes that I'm going to dictate to you. And you have to do it individually. And then I start. Step 1, cut the paper into 2. Step 2, fold vertically. Step 3, do this. Step 4, do this. Step 5. Is flyable, that can fly. Others come up with all sorts of crap. And then I'll go into the next iteration. And then I'll say, okay, now guys, get in groups, 100 people, get into say 10 groups. And we have 10 people in a group, and we have 10 groups. And then I'll tell them, so here's the challenge. Build a paper plane. Use whatever it is that you like. Use whatever method, use whatever. I just want the team to build paper planes. I don't dictate the instructions or the process or tools that they should use. If you want to use the scissors, fine. Than I got in the first iteration where they did it individually.
I think you're cutting in and out.
Uh-oh. What about now?
It's back, but we're losing a piece of the words every now and then.
Oh no. Just give me a minute, let me check. Maybe my connection. Okay, let me. Can you hear me now? Is it good?
Yes, it's okay.
Okay, let's hope it stays this way. Let's hope it stays this way. So at the end of the second iteration, where I put them in groups and I tell them, you can use whatever tool that you like, you can discuss amongst yourself and all of this and just build flying paper planes. At the end of that second iteration, there are always more paper planes than they had in the first iteration. Maybe 70%, 75% more. And I put them back together and I asked them, so what happened in the first iteration and in the second iteration? And most of them usually will say, in the first iteration, we were constrained to the processes and the tools that you gave us. And in the second iteration, because we were sort of collaborating, we were sort of interacting, we were able to use our creativity, explore our creativity to be able to build as many paper planes as possible. And then I tell them, what then can you find from that exercise? Then they say, at times, processes are good, but if you allow people to work the way they like, to choose their own approach, you'll get better results than if you constrain them to a particular process. And what they're literally saying is there's more value in individuals and the interaction between those individuals over constraining them to processes and tools. So one of the values of Agile is individuals and interaction, team enablement, team empowerment, self-organization. Let the people doing the work decide on the approach. Let them use the technique that they feel is most applicable. A lot of organizations build processes and then hire people around those processes. But there should be a flip in that mindset. There should be a shift in that mindset. Build people and then let them determine the best process. Individuals and interaction over processes and tools. The second value is working software. There's more value in working software over comprehensive documentation. At the end of month one, Bank A created a comprehensive document, but from the lens of the users, from the standpoint of the customers, no value yet, because they can't use the comprehensive document. Let's focus on delivering something that is working over comprehensive documentation. The third value is customer collaboration, constantly engage with the customer. Bank A went to the customers in January and didn't return back until August. Whereas Bank B was constantly engaging, collaborating with the customers almost every month. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. And then lastly, responding to change, welcome change, embrace change, like change, anticipate change, responding to change over following a plan. Bank A said, well, when we came to you, you said you wanted this, this, and that, and that's what we did. Now you're coming to say you don't want that again. Well, for us to be able to accommodate that, we will have to review the contract. We will have to go through change control and all of that, and you need approval. And once it's approved, you'll have to pay more. Now they ended by saying, hey guys, we're not really saying that processes and tools, comprehensive documentation, contract negotiation, we're not really saying those things on the right are not good. They are good, right? But what we're saying is we see the things on the left, individuals and interaction, working software, customer collaboration, responding to change. We see these things add more value than the things on the right. And we're seeing it from the work that we're doing, not from the things that we're reading online, or not to say that those things are not good, but these are the guys that are actually experiencing those things. So some of the values of Agile: team empowerment and team autonomy. You don't necessarily need someone to micromanage the team. Let the people explore their ingenuity. Let them decide on the best approach to deliver the expectation. All you need to do is just give them a challenge or give them an expectation, and let them decide on how to achieve that. Individuals and interaction, team autonomy, self-organization, team empowerment. The second one is focus on working products. Your goal should be on a working product, something that the users, the customers, the stakeholders, the business can use. Focus on outcome more than output. Outcome is the change that is brought about as a result of completing an assignment. Output is just what you create. A document is an output. But a working software helps the customers to get some things done. Also, engage with the customers. As again, saying we're going to sign a contract and that's what we're going to follow. Then last is be responsive to change. A plan is good. A plan is not bad, but planning is better. So these are the 4 values of Agile. And then there are the 12 principles. Everything that you are going to be doing when you adopt an Agile mindset will be guided by these 12 principles. The first principle says our highest priority, our number 1 target, highest priority is to satisfy the customers, because customer is king. Our highest priority is to satisfy the customers through early and continuous delivery of valuable software. Bank A was going to satisfy the customer, but they were not going to satisfy the customer through early. Because if they're going to satisfy the customer through early, they won't wait for 7 months before releasing anything at all. Through early and continuous delivery of valuable product. Bank B delivered within few months. Early delivery. And then they continuously improved the performance of the product. They continuously increased the performance and the functionalities in the product. If you're waiting for 5 months, 10 months, 1 year before you launch anything at all, then you're not being agile. If you're waiting to have everything that you need before you take a step, you are not being agile. In fact, you are being fragile. Our highest priority is to satisfy the customer by delivering early and continuously deliver working, valuable product or service. The second principle says, welcome changing requirement, welcome changing needs, even late in development. If your priority, your highest priority is to satisfy a customer, and a customer is asking for a change, you won't think twice about it. I read something lately. Someone says there's a book that I read some time ago. It's called Built to Last. And there's been a change in the mindset right now. There's this new drive that's saying, well, don't focus on building to last, focus on building to adapt. Because nothing lasts forever. Build to adapt, adapt to changes. Uber started by conveying people from point A to point B. COVID hit, lockdown. There was no need in people moving from point A to point B. But there was a need in goods and services moving from point A to point B. And Uber literally adapted to that change and started doing delivery, Uber Eats and all of that. For those who are in Nigeria, I read about Go-Kada, conveying people from point A to point B. And then COVID hit. There were some government policies that sort of disrupted that market. And they had to not really pivot, but they had to adapt to the changing, and they changed from moving people to moving things. Welcome changing requirements, even late in development. Because if a customer says they want something, even late in development, and our priority is to satisfy them, we're going to welcome it. Bank A said, well, we're done with requirement gathering. We're not going to collect requirements again. Bank B said, well, we've learned this. Is it what you like? Not quite. Okay, what you like, just tell us. Oh, you change your mind? You want to be able to use soft token as against hard token? Oh, great. Why not? We can implement that, because all we want is to satisfy the customers. The third principle is deliver working product frequently, not just once. Deliver working product, deliver working service frequently, from a couple of weeks to a couple of months. But we kind of actually prefer a couple of weeks. So if you deliver something to the customers in January and they have to wait for another 1.5 years before you deliver another thing, then you're not being agile, or you're not following the principle of agile. Deliver working products, working software frequently, from a couple of weeks to a couple of months, with preference to a shorter time scale. The fourth principle says, build business people, the users, the stakeholders, and developers, and the people working on the product must work together daily throughout the project, because it is an association. The business people, the people that need the product, the people that are using the product, the people that are consuming the product, and the people that are building the product must work together, because they are one big family throughout the project. The fifth one says, build project around motivated individuals, not build project around processes. Build project around individuals that are motivated. Give them the environment, that's all that they need from you. Give them the environment and the support that they need, and trust them to get the job done. Traditional leadership management mindset believes that people have to be, one, shown what to do, and they have to be micromanaged for them to be able to deliver. But again, there's a change in that mindset when you're being agile, when you have the agile mindset. Motivate people and trust them. Only give them the support and the environment that they need, and then trust them to get the work done. The biggest asset that an agile organization has is the people, not the processes. So build projects, build products around motivated individuals, give them the environment and the support they need, and then trust them to get the job done. And the sixth one says, the most effective and efficient way of communicating is face-to-face. Phone call, online, as against sending an email. Email is good, right? But face-to-face is better. The seventh principle says, working product is the primary measure of progress. Bank A, looking at it from the mindset or from the lens of Agile, did not achieve any progress until the 7th month, because working product, functional product, is the primary measure of progress. Bank B started progressing, achieving progress from month 1 after they released their minimum viable product. So understanding this will make you change your mindset from being task-oriented to result-oriented. Working product, functional product, is the primary measure of progress. And then 8, I'm going to rush the remaining. And then the 8th one says, agile processes promote sustainable development. You should have like a constant pace immediately. We know that at the end of every 1 month, we're going to be releasing at least one feature into the product. At least every 1 month, you're going to be getting some updates, some enhancement, some improvement, some addition to the product from us. Constant pace, sustainable development. Continuous attention to technical excellence and good design enhances agility, number 9. Number 10, simplicity is essential. 67% of features in products are rarely used or never used. Why do we have to spend all the time in delivering everything when 67% of those things will not be used or rarely used? Why just focus on the simple 33% that they need and quickly deliver that? Vilfredo Pareto, the guy who created the 80-20 rule, or the Pareto principle, says the vital few, the about 20% of some things that account for 80% of the performance of the product. So let's focus on that vital few. Simplicity. Tell us what you need right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'll deliver it to you. As against, what are the things that you're going to need in the future? What are the things that will be in the product? Everything. Simplicity is essential. The 11th one, the big one, the best product, the best design, the best process, the best approach, the best method comes from self-organizing team. A team that organizes itself by itself, not a team that is managed by an orga, not a team that is directed by another person. A team that manages and organizes and directs itself produces the best thing ever. Again, take you back to the activity. I gave them the first iteration, I gave them papers and all of those, and I was telling them how to build it. And then in the second iteration, I put them in groups and I only told them what to build. And within themselves, they started organizing themselves. I don't know, somehow someone said, okay, who's going to cut? Oh, you cut? Okay, great. Who's going to tape? You tape. Okay, who's going to do this? They organize themselves and they produce 75% or 75 times better than what they produced when I was directing them. The best flying paper plane, the best product, the best process, the best approach, the best architecture, the best requirement, the best design emerge, come from self-organizing team. And then the last one, at regular intervals, we continue to improve. Improve our interaction, improve our processes, improve the product that we're delivering at regular intervals. The team by themselves, the people by themselves, reflect on how to become more effective, and then they tune and adjust their behavior accordingly. The team, not the management, not the leadership say, well, you guys are not performing well, and I think you should start doing this, doing this, doing this. The team at regular intervals will reflect on how to become more effective by themselves. They will identify that, and then they will adjust. It means, again, Agile is all about continuous improvement on the processes, the product, the team interaction, the environment that they work in. If you do not know anything about Agile, know the 4 values and the 12 principles and live by them. The 4 values and the 12 principles and live by them. So this is one exercise that I wanted us to do, but unfortunately we're not going to be able to do it. But I'll explain it to you, and maybe you can think about that later and do it. So you look at these 12 principles. At times when you recreate some concepts, when you recreate some things, it helps you to better understand it better. That's funny. It helps you to understand it better if you're able to recreate some things in your head. That's why at times when you're when I'm teaching or when you're explaining something to someone, they want you to explain it using an example that they can relate with, just so that they better understand it. There's this, no offense, I'm sorry for the guys who are from the eastern part of Nigeria, but someone cracked this joke. The person said that one time like that, they were saying to some guy who was from the east, like 5 plus 5. And the guy was like, oh, that's kind of difficult. And another person said, oh, no worry. If 5 container came and another 5 container came, how many containers do you have? The guy said, oh, 10 containers. Because he could relate. Because he could relate with that. So what I wanted to achieve with this is, I wanted to look at the 12 principles. And I wanted you to recreate those 12 principles, but with one constraint. Use no more than 3 words. So for example, satisfy customer early can be like our highest priority, something like that. At regular intervals, the team reflect, it can be improve continuously, something like that. So that's what I wanted us to do here, but it's fine. We will not do that, so we'll go on. So that's, in a nutshell, what Agile is. But then why do we need Agile? Why not? Rupert Murdoch said this thing, said it some years ago, and is as valid as anything today. Before now, organizations that used to win, organizations that used to thrive are organizations that are big. But we're seeing a lot of changes in the market, in the world. And in the words of Rupert Murdoch, the world is changing and it's changing very fast. And as a result of that change, big will not beat small anymore. It will be the fast beating the slow. Bank A is bigger than Bank B. But Bank B was the market leader and probably is still the market leader in the USSD space. They beat Bank A not because they were big, but because they were fast. And Agile is all about delivering fast. So why do we need Agile then? Why do we need Agile? Well, customer is king. Processes is not king. Customer is king. And Agile believes in satisfying customers early. And for us to satisfy customers, then we need to change our mindset. We need to adopt another approach. That's one reason why we should start being Agile, or why we should start adopting Agile. Another reason is faster time to market. How many of you can relate to this? You had an idea, a very fantastic idea. It hit you sometime last year, and you were thinking about it, and all of those things. And then early this year, a friend of mine, a friend of yours, that you share the idea with, or that you're working on the idea with, sent you a link to a product. And guess what you see in the link? What you see in the link is the exact product of your idea. Someone has implemented the same thing. More often than not, the guy didn't steal your idea. More often than not, nobody leaked your idea to the guy. If you can think of something, few other people are thinking about it. Now, the person that wins is the person that is the fastest. Where I come from, there is an adage, apologies to the non-Yoruba speaking people who can't understand. Hopefully someone will help me to interpret. The adage says, "Ẹni yára lògùn gbè." What that means is heaven, of course, that's not heaven. Heaven smiles on people who are fast. Customers respond to people who are fast. Market responds to people who are fast. There's something called first mover advantage. Agile will help us to achieve faster time to market. That's why we should be Agile. Another reason why Agile is good is it helps us to minimize our exposure to risk. Like I said, Bank A, well, Bank B didn't introduce anything to the market. There was no disruption in the market. Bank A spent about 7 months, and then they delivered something. And by the time they delivered the whole thing after 7 months, it didn't meet the expectations or the needs of the customers. Everything, maybe not everything, wasted. 7 months of effort. But if we do Agile, if we use Agile, in 1 month, we quickly release something. If we fail, we are only failing on just 1 month worth of work and not 7 months worth of work. So it helps us to minimize our exposure to risk, our exposure to failure. It also helps us to engage the team and improve the team creativity because it's people-centric. Individuals and interaction. over processes and tools. People leave organizations, people leave businesses when, one, they don't feel engaged. They don't feel heard. They don't feel appreciated. Some people leave because they feel that they are not being the best that they can be. But Agile gives you a challenge and asks you, places a demand on you as an individual within your team to decide on the best approach to address that challenge or to solve that problem. And with that, you begin to get more creative. You begin to get more engaged. And Agile helps you to achieve that. Why also do you need Agile? We live in a volatile world. The world that we live in is volatile. We don't know what's going to happen in the market tomorrow. It's very uncertain. It's very complex to navigate the needs of the market or the customers, or even the competition. So we need to be able to build something that we can respond to change with very quickly. And then lastly, we're not sure if we're going to be successful. But the earlier we learn whether we're not successful or not, and learn what it is to be successful, the better. Agile helps us to achieve that. And many other reasons to engage with the customers, engagement with customer, engagement with team, and all of those things. Now, how can you be agile? So we looked at what agile is. We looked at why we need to be agile. How can we be agile? There are several techniques, there are several methods, there are several approaches that we can take on our path to agility. Agility is a state of mind, a state that we want to operate in, a state of agility. But there are vehicles that we can use to achieve that state or to operate in that state. Those vehicles are called frameworks. And there are a number of frameworks under Agile. There is Scrum, which is like the most popular, and that's why we're talking about Scrum next. There's Kanban. Kanban originally originated from manufacturing or production. Toyota production system uses Kanban, Dr. Adi's industry. And there are a couple of other ones, but the most important, the most popular one is Scrum. Over 70% of organizations practicing Agile use Scrum and a combination of other one, maybe Scrum and Kanban. And I'm gonna go into Scrum. So what is Scrum? If there's any question, please ask me. You can stop me. You can put on the chat box. I can respond as I'm going.
So I want to stop you for a bit, if it's okay.
It's okay.
Just to let the people in the audience kind of breathe. We're wondering if you've gone through Agile with us, picked a lot of points. So we're wondering whether participants have questions on Agile before we move to Scrum. Mm-hmm. Uchi, can the participants speak? If you have questions, please signify by raising your hand, and or you can put them in the question and answer box. So there is a question and answer box. Please, this session's been recorded. Yes, we are recording these sessions, and they're also live on YouTube. So please, we want to, if it's okay, we want to take this 5 minutes and use this question and answer box. So we want to interact with our audience for maybe 5 minutes, if that's okay. And also give you till a couple of minutes to breathe. Because
absolutely, you're right, Dr. Adi. I get this at times, like, you're just going, just take a chill pill, bro.
So audience, we are waiting for your questions. And yes, we want to make sure that you don't just listen in, that you have an opportunity to participate, to add your voice, to get some clarifications. They're asking whether they can find the YouTube recording. We're going to put the link in the main chat so that everyone can get the link. But pertaining to Agile that you have listened to in the last an hour and a half, do you have any questions for us? Someone is asking, how is Agile related to Six Sigma?
Good question. Yeah, good question. So they're sort of different, but they always intersect somewhere. So Six Sigma is a management philosophy that's used extensively in quality management. Six Sigma basically is the highest level of quality achievable. And what it means is for your product, you must achieve 99.9997 something correctness for you to operate at a Six Sigma level. It's also a philosophy that is used in waste reduction. It's used in process improvement when you add lean to it. And it has 5 stages. He has that DMAIC stage, the 5 stages. The first one is define. The second one is measure, analyze, improve, and control. It's kind of like different from Agile. Agile, as you said, is a mindset, is a method of delivering product. Six Sigma method is a method of delivering optimum quality, achieving quality, reducing waste, or improving processes. So they're kind of like different. I've got a question here if you want me to take it. I'm a manager at a sales company. How can I use Agile in my role as a sales leader? Good question. There is something now called Agile marketing. Designing campaigns, building pipelines, engaging more with the customers, empowering your sales team, and all of those things. These are ways that you can apply Agile to just about anything. Like I said, it's first of all a mindset before it's even an iterative approach to create incremental products.
Great. We have another question for you, Coach. As an oil and gas professional, we use stage gate project management in the industry because of how complex the projects are. I'd like to ask, can Agile be put into use in oil and gas? And how effective can it be?
Yeah, good question. It's possible that most of the processes in Agile, all of the processes in Agile may not fit into an industry. What you will do as an O&G person is to look at your internal processes, look at the processes and the practice of an O&G person is to look at your internal. Is that how I sound?
Yeah, okay. I was just trying out the YouTube link and just to make sure that it's still streaming over there.
Yeah, right. I was like, well, so that's how I sound. So look at your internal processes. When organizations, and I do Agile transformation a lot, when organizations are trying to transform the way they work to an Agile way, we first start with understanding their internal processes and all of those things, and the ones that we can change. There's some things that we cannot really change because O&G, for example, is highly regulated. There are regulatory requirements that is imposed on the organization that way that some processes that you can't change. Otherwise, you're going to be violating some regulatory policies or requirements. So we keep those things. But the other areas of the business that we can change, we adapt the processes to fit Agile practice. But even more importantly, it's helping people to change their mindset, whether it's in O&G, whether it's in healthcare, whether it's in marketing.
Okay, thank you. We have another question here. Someone is asking that, can Agile only be applicable to companies that build things?
It's applicable to service delivery organizations also.
Okay.
Remember, at the end of every project, what you are creating is either a product, something that is physical that you can feel, touch, and all of that, or a service. Now, so change from we're developing product to we're delivering services. You go to a restaurant, the way they arrange the seating before has changed. And the new change is adding value, is improving your experience. That's Agile in a service delivery organization. So it can be applicable, it can be applied to service delivery, product delivery, and all of that. Do you have any other questions?
Yes, there's another question here where somebody is asking, are there projects that can only be executed through Waterfall project management?
I will say there are projects that are, there's some projects that are best suited for traditional Waterfall. Yes. But again, like we said, look at some of the mindsets that you can adapt even while working in traditional Waterfall. And PMI, the grandfather of traditional Waterfall, is making that change now. For those who are in project management, before 2017, it was strictly 100% Waterfall. Now, after 2017, when they updated their guide, they added some Agile components to it. Right now, in 2020, they are even changing it entirely to be more principle-based than process-based. But it's still on project. Yeah.
So one more question, and this will be the last one. Someone is asking, I work with some perfectionists. Do you have some tips to help change their mind to fail fast?
So that I kind of personally believe that we don't really have people who are 100% perfect, because there's no perfect system. So if someone is a perfectionist who wants everything done accordingly, one of the things that you can do just off the cuff is to break whatever thing that they've asked you to do in bits. I wanted to write a letter, say for example, write a letter. Okay, what's going to be in the letter? It's going to have an introduction, it's going to have the address, it's going to have the body, it's going to have the salutation and all of those things. You can create that framework and send it to the guy. Okay, so look at this. This is the framework that I have. And the guy can start right there before even spending a lot of time writing those notes, writing those letters to say, oh, no, I don't want the introduction to come before salutation. I want the salutation to come before introduction. With that, you've seen you failed, but you failed really fast, and then you can use that failure to correct, to improve the next thing that you're going to be sending to the guy. I'm not sure if that, I think that was like Eric Kigati. I'm not sure if that sort of helped.
Okay. I also want to add that I believe that most people are on here, you may have some project management backgrounds or some understanding of how to lead by influence. I believe when you want to convince someone to fail fast, you may have to maybe apply some leading by influence methodology there. So if you cannot influence them, you cannot actually bring that fail fast theory in. Maybe working on how do I create that relationship where I'm influencing with my leadership skills. Maybe that's first what you need to do. But when people trust you enough, when you are influencing them enough, maybe the concept of failing fast can be put on the table. But if people are not influenced by you, it will be hard to actually be able to do anything. So maybe working on some of the methods under leading by influence could be a first method. And once you are in a place where you feel like, I think people trust me enough, they trust how I'm leading, then failing fast become a thing. I'm in manufacturing and we believe a whole lot in failing fast. We invest a whole lot in innovation, but we also kind of think about innovation as something that we try, fail fast if it doesn't work, and we continue to optimize. So continuous improvement kind of just work alongside it. So failing fast is a thing, but maybe trying to get their trust first before introducing the fail fast theory. If it's okay, Coach, I want to advertise our next class here. So today we're focusing on Agile and Scrum, and I don't know if there are people on the call today who are interested. Can I borrow your screen for 1 minute?
Yeah, you have it in a minute.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are around the world. My name is Dr. Adiola Olubamiji, and I am the founder of STEM Hub Foundation. We have Power Pack sessions that we have selected for the Series 2. And our next class next Saturday is going to be dealing with advanced Excel analytics. So if there's anyone here who is interested in data analytics, I don't know if you've heard about Industry 4.0, and maybe you know that big data and data analytics is one of the swim lanes there. Data analytics, everybody just says use data. And as we move our processes to digital processes, maybe through different things that we're working from home now because of COVID, a lot of data are being generated. How can you analyze this data? In our series 1, we are focused on the use of Tableau and also RStudio as a data analytics tool. So in this series 2, we're focusing on Excel as the tool for data analytics. So if you're interested in learning advanced Excel, understanding how to use Excel to clean up your data, and you want to understand how to use it for good data visualization, please make it a date with us next week. We're bringing back Miriam. Miriam was the person who taught us data analytics using RStudio. She is a teacher, a coach, and a mentor, extremely fantastic. So please make sure to come next week, come with your laptop, because there'll be a lot of practical there, because we will have to be taking assignments and doing them on the spot with Excel. So if you don't have Excel downloaded, please make sure that you have your Microsoft Office package ready, and hopefully you will get to learn how to kind of clean up data, manage data in Excel next week. Thank you. I'll stop sharing now. And apart from next week, just in case you're not interested in data analytics, the weeks to come, the week after that, we have machine learning and vision and computer vision as a class. We have a Professor Walid is going to be leading that for us. We also have artificial intelligence, introduction to artificial intelligence, being led by Dr. Johnson. So we've assembled different leaders in the industry to come in and share with you and teach hands-on practical of different concepts under the Industry 4.0 portfolio. We also just found somebody to teach Power BI. This is still part of the data analytics package, so we don't have that on the flyer, but we've just confirmed that somebody will be leading that for us. We're excited. We're still taking on new speakers. We just want to make sure that we have those finalized before we put them out there, but we're excited for the coming weeks. We hope that at the end of this series, your portfolio will be loaded with different kind of skills. Thank you. Bye. Back to you.
Yeah, before I go, I have to really just say this, guys. I have to really say this. I do training, and I also interact with people that do training. Most of these things that you're getting for free, oh my goodness, are you kidding me? We're talking $500, $700, and you're getting them for free. Wow, this is good. Thanks a lot, Dr. Adi and Uchi of Africa Hacks.
Thank you. It is our hope to continue to support our community. we say Black Lives Matter. We were on the streets protesting. I believe Black life will not matter if Black people are not economically strong. So this is our own way to make sure that if Black life must matter, people must come with the right skill set, approaching those jobs ready. And we want to make sure that everybody who participates, who meets us, who is a part of our programs, go to those interviews ready with skills in their portfolio. So no one is allowed to look down Black people anymore because we're ready. And this is not just for Black people. So if you're on the call today, you're not Black, we believe in ensuring that everybody gets supported. We believe in the minority power. So don't feel left out. We are serving our entire community. Yes, our focus may be on minorities, which include Black people and non-Black people, but we want to make sure that everyone who come across our organizations get empowered. Thank you.
Massive stuff, massive good stuff. I just share one thing before I go on. A few weeks ago, I was on a panel of some organization trying to sort of drive equality, equity amongst people of color and all of those things. And one of the things that we shared was, hey, at times you can't really just change the life of an individual if you haven't changed their mind, right? And how do you change their mind? By equipping them with knowledge and understanding, right? I remember I'm aligned with a particular religion, and there's some part in the book that says, for people to be transformed, you have to change their mindset. Be transformed by renewing your mind, by learning new things, by dropping some concept and all of those things. And how do we make the community powerful? By equipping our minds, by learning new things and all of those things. We don't want to be on the board because there is a policy that says, well, you have to have like 5% of these people. We want to be there because we have what it takes to contribute to the board, to the organization, and not just, well, we just need to tick a box that we have a Black guy or we have someone of color. Anyways, so good stuff. Let's look at Scrum. So Scrum is one of the ways that we can achieve agility. Scrum is a method, is a vehicle that can take us through operating in that state of agility. And I've spent some time giving you the history of how Scrum came about. It was in 1986 when some two guys, Ikujiro and Hirochata, I think that's the name, I'm not really sure, some great Asian guys, when they released a paper called the New Product Development Game, the new way to start developing new products. So they call it the New Product Development Game. And this was a paper that was empirical, that was based on research. What they did basically was they went to several companies in the United States and, well, in North America, I'll put it that way. They went to some organizations that were delivering products. And they spent some time observing them. They spent some time shadowing their teams. They also spent some time interviewing them. And at the end, they realized that there are two categories of organizations that develop products. Those who develop product faster and engage the customers more, and those who develop product not as fast and kind of don't engage customers. And they found some similarities, some denominators across those who develop product faster. They found about three things. One, they found that those organizations have smaller teams, between 3 to 9. The teams that work on those products are between 3 to 9, smaller teams, that's one. Secondly, they found that those guys who develop better, who deliver faster, the team actually work better when they have a challenge that they're working on, as against when they are given granular step-by-step step to complete tasks. And then the third is they found out that those guys engage their customers more frequently. And in that paper in 1986, they sort of described that scenario with the word Scrum. Just like you have in the game of rugby. So they released those papers. You can find them on HBR, Harvard Business Review. And then in 1993, one of the guys who play actively in the Agile community now, a guy called Jeff Sutherland, picked some of the processes and some of the learnings from that paper and adapted it to a project he was working on with a government organization in 1993. Because the guy said, okay, when you have this, when you have this, when you have this, you'll be able to deliver faster. And then Jeff Sutherland picked those practices and adapted it to a project that he was working on in 1993. And then in 1995, he, together with another guy called Ken Schwaber, they sat together and they created the framework called the Scrum framework, or they made the processes formal. The Scrum process or the Scrum practice in 1995. And then in 2001, we had the guys who got together somewhere in the United States to create the Agile Manifesto. And then in 2002, Ken Schwaber with other people founded an organization, a not-for-profit organization responsible for advancing the practice of Scrum. And they call them Scrum Alliance. And we're holding seminars, events, and all. And then in 2010, they made into a publication the official guide to Scrum that details the knowledge, the practices, and the framework and the rules surrounding Scrum. And from then on, organizations started using Scrum as a framework within Agile. So what exactly now is Scrum? It's a framework. But it's a framework that helps people to address problems that are complex. 90% of problems that we have today are complex. We live in a complex environment. We live in a volatile world. It's almost impractical for you to be able to determine everything that is needed in a product from day one, or in a service from day one. So the framework, the Scrum framework, helps people to address those complex adaptive problems. And while they're addressing those problems, they are also creatively, remember the word, creativity of the people, creatively delivering products with the highest possible value. Think about Bank B also. What are the things that you want right now? What are the things that are of value to you right now? If you have 12 features on a product, there will be some features that will add more value than others. Let's focus on those first features, those first functionalities first. Deliver those things first, and then iterate. The framework itself is very easy. It's very lightweight. The guide has just about 18 pages minus the cover page. Just very lightweight, very simple to understand. You can read the Scrum guide and understand it, but it's difficult to master. And that's why organizations spend money employing someone who is a master of Scrum, Scrum master, to help the organization. The most important thing about Scrum is it's based on empiricism, empirical process control. We can't define it. It's based on experimentation. It's based on trying things and seeing if it works. And if it works, great. If it doesn't work, learn from it. Try new things. But the Scrum framework itself is built on a set of pillars. The first one is transparency. Because we're experimenting, because we're trying new things, we have to be transparent about the new things that we're trying, about the results that we're getting. You can't improve something if you don't measure it. And you can't get the right measure if you're not transparent. The same way you can't really get healed if you go to a hospital and you're not transparent about your feelings to the doctor. Because this is adaptive. We want to address complex adaptive problems. We need to be transparent about everything that we're doing. The second pillar is inspection. Someone say what you don't inspect and measure, you can't improve. So we need to inspect something, but for us to get the right set of results out of our inspection, we need to be transparent. And based on the results of our inspection, we need to constantly adapt because it's an adaptive framework. If we launch a product, the first version of a product, and we don't check with the customers to get their feedback, we're not inspecting. Even if we check with the customers and they tell us their feedback, and we're not using the feedback to improve the product, it means that we're not adapting. So for Scrum to be successful in an organization, or for an organization to be successful using Scrum, we need to be transparent about our processes. We need to be transparent about the mistakes that we're making. We need to be transparent about everything that we're doing. And that's why you see a lot of teams that work on Scrum borrow the visualization concept from Kanban, where they put everything that they're working on like a visual board. Where you see they have their ceremonies openly because they're transparent. And every time they're looking at the result that they're getting, they're looking at the output that they're creating, and they're adapting based on the result. Once you have these three things, then you will be successful in adopting and implementing and running Scrum. So these are the three pillars that Scrum sit on. But Scrum also has its own set of values. And if you look at these values, you see that they align perfectly with the 4 values of Agile. We can't really improve if we don't do new things, if you don't try new things. So one of the values of Scrum is courage. Courage to do the right thing. Courage to work on tough problems. Courage to experiment. Don't be scared of failing. Courage, big one. The second value is focus. Focus on the goal that we're working on every month. Focus on the work that we're doing. Try and remove distractions as much as possible. The third one is commitment. Commitment to the product, commitment to satisfying customers, commitment to improving, commitment to meeting goals. You have to be in it to win it. You have to be committed. Because our highest priority is to satisfy the customer. So our commitment will be to satisfying the customer. The fourth one is respect. Respect of people's opinion. Respect of people's ability and capability. Respect of people's choices. Respect of people's space. And then the last value is openness. You can't really improve if you're not open. Openness about all the work that the team is doing, openness about the challenges that the team is facing, openness about the way the team is performing their work, openness about the assumptions that they are making, openness about the constraints that they have. These are the 5 values of Scrum. Now let's talk about the framework itself. As we said, Scrum is very lightweight. It's very simple to understand. The framework has just 3 elements. The first one is the roles. The second one, ceremonies or events. And then the third one, artifacts, or if you want to call them documents, you can, but they're more active artifact than document. Very simple framework. Scrum has just 3 roles. Any other person is called a stakeholder. Just 3 roles in a Scrum setting, in a Scrum environment. The first role is the role of a product owner. We're building a product. There's some guy who is responsible for representing the interest and the position of the users and the customers and the stakeholders on the product. That person is called the product owner. This is the person who interacts with the user community. This is the person who gets an idea or understanding of what the users want. This is the person who determines, based on his or her understanding of the needs of the users or customer, who determines what should be built and in what sequence. Oh, I think we should build the login page and the change my password page. The product owner says this based on his understanding, based on our understanding of the pain points of the users, based on an understanding of what is of value to the stakeholders. This person must understand the domain that the product works in. This person must be so close to the users, to the customers, to the stakeholders. This person interacts with them all the time. And ultimately, this person is responsible for return on investment on the product. You know, in some other frameworks, you have product managers or you have product something. For Scrum, we have product owner, and that's the person who, in quotes, owns the product. The second role is called the Scrum Master role. This is the guy who understands Scrum framework, who understands Agile methodology, and who is able to help the organization, who is able to help the team to adopt and implement Scrum the right way. He's not a team lead. He's not a manager. He's just someone who serves the team using the servant leadership mindset. This is this person who should ensure that the team or the organization is living by the Agile principles or values. This is the person who helps the team to become even more mature in their adoption or in their practice. But he or she is not the leader of the team. He supports the team. She serves the team. This person doesn't dictate how the team should create those products or those increments. He just guides the team and support them in whatever it is that they need. Remember the fifth principle, build projects around motivated individuals. Give them the environment and the support they need and trust them to get the work done. This guy is the one that helps to ensure that the team has an environment that is psychologically safe for them to be productive. This guy understands human and behavioral psychology, behavior science, understand how people behave and why they behave the way they behave, understand motivation theories. The Scrum Master, that is. And then the third role is called the development team. The development team is between 3 to 9. Because there's this belief that if you have more than 9 people in a team, then it becomes more difficult to coordinate. So not less than 3, because these guys are going to be creating products or product increments. So all the skill set needed to create a functional, usable product should be resident with the team, with the development team. So not less than 3, but not more than 9. Once you have a team that is more than 9, you need to break them and create a second team. Because again, Ikujiro and Hirotachi, the guys from the new product development game, realized that people are more productive in product development when the team is small, between 4 and 9. And also Jeff Sutherland in the 90s used the same approach, the same practice on a real life project, and they achieved tremendous results. So it's been tested and proven. So the development team has everybody that is needed to be able to create a piece of functionality or to create the product. The team should, as much as possible, have little or no dependence on external stakeholders or external factors. Everything that the team needs to do to create that product, every skill that is needed should be with the team. So in an Agile team or in a Scrum team, you find them use the T skills a lot, where one person has depth of a particular skills and also is able to pick 1 or 2 other skills. People who work in Scrum teams are people who have more than one skill set. You can do development, but you should also be able to do analysis. You should also be able to do some bit of testing. You should also be able to do some bit of architecture. But we know that your strength is really in development. You are a tester. You should be able to also do some analysis. You should be able to do some user flow. You are a business analyst. You should be able to do some testing also. Just so that everything that is needed will be in that 9 or 4 or 5 or 6 people. And this thing is self-organizing. They don't have a leader. When I mean leader, like someone who dictates to them how to do what they need to do. They organize themselves by themselves. They direct themselves by themselves. They manage themselves by themselves. They don't have a manager over them. Now you see mindset. Some people believe that you need someone to manage people. This guy, Agile, says, well, people are naturally creative. People can agree on how to deliver something between themselves and by themselves. They don't need someone to manage their work, or they don't need someone to manage them. They can manage themselves by themselves. The same like theory Y or Frederick Exberg theory. They are naturally creative. They are self-motivating. Just give them a challenge and leave them to get it done. They're not theory X people. So that's the development team. Between 3 and 9, the team has all the skill set that they need to develop whatever it is that they're developing. And also in the development team, they discourage the use of titles other than developer. So everybody in the development team is called a developer, not because what they're doing is writing codes, because what they're doing is developing a service, developing a product. And again, because they are self-organizing, because they are just one entity, encouraging titles will mean that if a business analyst, for example, has done analysis and the design, then he says, my work is done. But then remember the 7th principle, the primary measure of progress is working software. Until we deliver something that works, we have not made any progress as a team. Most of the time when organizations are adopting Agile or when they're implementing Scrum, one of the things that we do is redesign the organization structure. Break them from silos and solos to collaborative team. Move them from component teams to feature team. A component is a part of something. A feature has several components. So those are the roles. Any other person in a Scrum environment is called a stakeholder. And most of the time they are consuming the product. Also, stakeholders don't come to the development team to tell them what to do. The product owner sort of understands what is expected to be done and then provides that direction to the development team. So those are the 3 roles in Scrum. The next component is the ceremonies or events. Some people loosely call these things meetings. They are not meetings, they are events, or they are ceremonies. The first one, which is the container, is the sprint. The sprint is that iteration. Remember we said we're iteratively creating incremental product. I'm going to explain that. So we have iteration, a cycle where we need to understand what we need to deliver to the client and then deliver it. So that's called sprint. And the sprint can be between 1 week to 4 weeks. Shouldn't be more than 4 weeks because again, the 3rd principle says deliver working software frequently from a couple of weeks to a couple of months with preference to a shorter time scale. And because that sprint, that container, that iteration is where we have to create something at the end, it shouldn't be so long. So it shouldn't be more than 1 month, couple of weeks. And it can be less than 1 week because really, what can you create in 1 week? Most organizations choose a 2-week cadence. Our sprint is going to be 2 weeks. And at the end of that sprint, they're expected to create a functional deliverable, something that the users can start using, something that is functional, not prototype, not document, not design, not architecture, something that we can give to customers to start using, to start socializing. It's the sprint that we have to do that. That's our iteration. Now, within the sprint, there are other ceremonies. The first one is sprint planning. The difference between this is we're only planning for that iteration. We're only planning for that sprint. If it's 2 weeks, we're only planning for that 2 weeks. As against Bank A that used the Waterfall, where they plan for everything from the beginning. And what we do in sprint planning is the product owner comes around, meets with the development team and the Scrum Master and says things like, hi guys, based on my interaction with the user community, these are the things that I want us to deliver in the next 2 weeks. And then we agree on how to deliver it by starting with a sprint goal, the goal for the sprint, the objective for the sprint, the target for the sprint. And then the development team will look at all the work that they need to complete to be able to meet that goal. And then they start working for the next 2 weeks, for the next 3 weeks, for the next 1 month. Every day, the business people and developers must work together daily throughout the project. Every day, we gather together in a ceremony called Daily Scrum. You probably know about Daily Stand-Up. It used to be called Daily Stand-Up, but it's not Daily Scrum. For just 15 minutes, And it's a ceremony where the team synchronizes on their activities. They go through things like, what have you achieved in the last 24 hours? What are you going to be achieving in the next 24 hours? Are there any impediments or any obstacles that you see along the way? Just the development team. At times, the Scrum Master may attend, the product owner may come in and all of those things, but shouldn't be more than 15 minutes. And everybody working on the project or working on the product should get a chance to respond to those 3 questions. What did you achieve yesterday? What are you going to be working on today? Is there any problem or any obstacle or any impediment that you see? With that, everybody understands everything that is going on. Remember again, transparency. Everybody understands on what everybody has achieved in the last 24 hours. They synchronize on what they're going to be working on in the next 24 hours, and then they make impediments visible. It's 15 minutes, not more than 15 minutes. And this is not a ceremony or a meeting where we discuss issues or address issues. When we're done, at the end of the sprint, at the end of that 2 weeks, we're expected to have created something that meets the goal. That something can be a piece of functionality or can be an enhancement to an already existing feature. But we're expected to create something at the end of that, sprint. Now, what we're expected to create is called a potentially shippable product increment. An increment is an addition to the product. And we say potentially shippable, which means that it must be in a ready-to-use state. Not something that we have not tested. Not something that, yes, we've designed it, but we have not really finished the coding. Or we have not really we've not finished the copy. It's something that is ready to use. That's why it's called potentially shippable, potentially releasable at the end of every sprint. Still in alignment with the principle. But we've created something, we've delivered something. Remember again, we don't know if what we've delivered is actually right. So we bring the stakeholders back at the end of every 2 weeks. We bring them back in a ceremony or an event called Sprint Review. Some people call it demo, where we demonstrate that increment that we've created at the end of that sprint, for them to test it, for them to give us their feedback on whether they like it or not. Customer collaboration. If they like it, great, we can release it if we want. If they don't like it, good. What do you like? What does good look like? They give us the feedback. Welcome changing requirements, even late in development. We pick the feedback and we use the feedback to improve the next iteration, the next thing that we're going to deliver on the next sprint. So if your needs are not met on this particular increment and the need is high priority, you won't have to wait for more than 2 weeks or 3 weeks before we correct that and give it to you. Because we're going to pick that feedback and we're going to use it to improve the next thing that we're doing. So that's sprint review. Everybody is allowed on this one. The Scrum Master, Scrum, the product owner, the development team, all the stakeholders that are interested in the product. And then the team then gathers at the end in a ceremony called sprint retrospective. If you look at the word retrospective, it means flashback on what happened. So sprint retrospective is look back on the sprint that we just completed. So what are we looking back for? We're looking back because we want to look at how we performed and identify a way to improve the way we are performing at regular intervals. The team by themselves look for ways to be more effective. So we have that ceremony where we look at, are there better ways that we can work? Are there better things that we can do to deliver better? Because continuous improvement. So every sprint, we're delivering something. Every sprint, we are improving. We're trying new things. We're learning from those new things. And that's the sprint retrospective. This is only for the team, the product owner, the Scrum Master, the development team. No other person is allowed in the sprint retrospective because the principle says at regular interval, just the team alone. And also because we want transparency. How transparent can you get when you have a manager, your manager or your direct report or supervisor watching you? And you are trying to look for the things that didn't go well or some of the mistakes that you made. How transparent will you be? Maybe not as much. So it has to be just the team because it's the team's effort. So those are the ceremonies or the events. And then the third component is artifacts. Don't think about this as documents. The first one is, and there are three of them. The first one is the product backlog. Everything that we want to do in the product has to be kept somewhere or has to be in some place. That place where we put everything that we are thinking of doing about the product, on the product, is the product backlog. For the guys who have done a little bit of business analysis, they will understand an artifact called BRD, Business Requirement Document. Now, the product backlog is not business requirement document because a business requirement document has to be signed off. And once it's signed off, it becomes a baseline. Product backlog is not signed off. Product backlog is never complete. Remember, welcome changing requirements. Product backlog is where we keep all the things, where we put all the things, and it's constantly being updated. We write some things in the product backlog right now, and the needs of the customers change, or something changes in the market, we change the content. We put something as high priority today, and something happens, and it makes that thing to be low priority. We move it back, and we readjust. So we're constantly updating and prioritizing the product backlog. And the product backlog is owned by the product owner, managed by the product owner, because he's the one or she's the one who understands what the customers need, what the users need. Once we start our sprint, that iteration that we have to work to deliver something, we will create a sprint backlog. Now, a sprint backlog is a place where we keep things that we want to work on for that iteration, for that sprint. Product backlog is where we keep things that we're thinking about for the product. The sprint backlog is just for that 2 weeks, the things that we're going to be working on for that 2 weeks. And then the product increment is the increments that we are creating, the summation of the increment that we've been creating, plus the new one that we create. Now, let me put all of these guys into a flow and show you how these things all work together in Scrum. So this is it. The product owner, who is the owner of the product, interact with the users, the customers, the stakeholders, gets an idea of what they want from the users, from the customers, and from the stakeholders. Can I annotate on this one? Let me see. Okay, yeah, great. So just give me a minute to get on this. Okay, great. I like this one, so I'll go here. I like green. All right, cool. And then I'll go back here. So the product owner, this guy, annotate. This guy, sorry, give me a minute. I'm trying to get my annotation up. Oh, I thought you said I could. So this guy, the product owner, goes to meet with the end users, the stakeholders, the customers, and ask them, hey, Mr. Customer, hey, Miss End User, hey, Miss Stakeholder, what are the things that you want in this new product that we're building? And then they say, well, I want an ability to be able to do this. I want it to perform this way. I want it to perform this way. And the product owner takes all those inputs and creates them here in the product backlog. So you can see here, we have the product backlog that contains features that should be in the product that we're thinking about. The product owner here is constantly getting inputs from the end users, collaborating with the users, and then using the input to create content for the product backlog here. At the beginning of the sprint, the product owner and the development team will gather together here in a ceremony called the sprint planning. The sprint planning. They will gather together and they will determine what the goal is for the next 2 weeks. This guy, the product owner, will tell them the goal based on his interaction, based on his encounter, based on his engagement with the end users. And they will say, well, when I met with these guys, they said that they want to be able to also do these other things. So I think these are the things that we should create in this next sprint. And then the team will pick things from the product backlog and we put in this sprint backlog. So this is the sprint backlog. In sprint planning, they will understand the goal or the target, and then they will take things from the product backlog because that's where we keep all the things that we want to do. And then they will move it to the sprint backlog here during sprint planning. And then at the end of that sprint planning, they will end it. And then they will start their sprint, which is between 1 to 4 weeks. All through the sprint, every day, the team will gather together in the Scrum, in daily Scrum. And they will synchronize on the progress or the activities for the sprint. Where are we? What have we achieved in the last 24 hours? What are we going to be achieving in the next 24 hours towards the goal of the sprint? And are there any issues, any concerns, any limitations, X, Y, and Z? Now, at the end of that 4 weeks, coming out of that 4 weeks or 3 weeks, they will create a potentially shippable product increment. At the end of this cycle, they must create this thing. And whatever it is that they're creating must be potentially shippable. It should be in a state that it can be shipped, or it can be released, or it can be used. But we don't even know if this thing, yeah, we've done our best. Based on what we understand, we've done our best. But we don't even know if this thing that we have created will deliver the expected value to the stakeholders. So in sprint review, again, this one, we gather these stakeholders together, and then we review this thing with them, this potentially shippable product increment, this new functionality of the product that we've created at the end of this thing. We'll review it with them, and we ask them for their feedback. Some people call this also demo. Well, you can also do it because you're demonstrating to them. And you get the feedback, and you use the feedback to improve what you have here, because the feedback will become another need that they have. And then at the end, on the last day, very last day, the last thing is the sprint retrospective, where just the team alone will gather together and will do a retrospective saying, okay, so this last sprint, how did it go? What were the things that worked well? What were the things that didn't quite work well? Are there anything that we can start doing to improve the processes, to improve the product, to improve our engagement, to improve our collaboration, to improve the environment in in retrospective? And they're not just going to identify those things. They will pick the most important improvement opportunity, and they will start implementing from the next sprint, because they want to be better. They want to continue to improve. So this is the Scrum framework in high level. I think that I think that we'll stop here. The other thing that I wanted us to do was more activity-based, because we've been learning, I've been talking for about 2 hours. Now I want us to get into like groups and start carrying out some of these actions. But fortunately, we're not going to be able to do that because of a capability that we need that is not available here. So I don't know if I still have like 10 minutes to go over user stories, but if I don't have, it's okay. This is not really.
You do. If people are still on here, yes, because it's not 3 yet. So.
Okay, cool stuff, cool stuff. So let's quickly look at user stories. Let me clean up this. Okay, clear all drawings. Great. So let's go. Then I go back here, and then I present. One of the most important concepts in Agile, more importantly in Scrum, is the change in how we represent what users want. The traditional waterfall has what is called requirement as a representation of user needs. But then again, there is a limitation to the value that's delivered if we focus too much on requirements. Also, because the priority for us is to satisfy the users. It's almost impossible to satisfy users if we don't really understand their story. Also, it's impossible to satisfy users if we focus just on what the product will do, and not on what users want to do on the product. A way to really understand and improve the experience of users is to try and understand their journey. It is try and understand their story. If I want to know how to deliver better to Dr. Adi, I'll ask to understand Dr. Adi's story, Dr. Adi's struggle, Dr. Adi's challenges, Dr. Adi's future and journey. And by understanding that, I'll then be able to come up with some things that will help her, that will add value to her. So user story helps us to change from output to outcome. It switches from focusing on the product to focusing on the experience that the customers want to have by understanding their journey. It's basically stories that users have told us. Because again, our priority, our highest priority is to satisfy the user. So let's hear from the users. Let's understand the users. And that's why the change is made from focusing on requirement to focusing on user stories. And the user story has a template, has a format. But just like any story, it's sweetest when you start from the beginning, you get into the middle of the body, and you wrap it up with an end. So when someone wants to tell you a story, they go, oh, so in the beginning, this thing happened, and then I did this, and then I got this. When we're writing user stories, we should adopt the same format. It's just that in the beginning, we are telling the who. My name is Bala Adeshokwe. I'm an Agile coach. I want to be able to put users in groups when I'm coaching them so that I can drive interaction. I started with the beginning, I got into the middle, and then I ended it. Adopt the same framework or the same format for user story. We start with the beginning by telling the who, the user role. What is your role? Who are you? Are you an account holder? Are you a guest? Are you an administrator? Are you a supervisor? Because different roles will use a product differently. I like to use this very funny exercise, or very funny example. Hopefully some people here can still remember or know. There are two bridges in Lagos, for those who know Lagos. There's one in Lekki Ikoyi, the Link Bridge. And there's another one before you get to, what's this place called again? Oh, how can I forget? Don't like this. This is funny. There's this other place called Abulegba. The two bridges perform the same function, but the design is kind of different. And the design is based on the people that will be using the bridge. The way you design the same product for the seniors will be different from the way you design the same product for millennials. The way you design a product for people that are colorblind will be different from the way, but they're still going to perform the same function. So the first is you want to understand who you are. So a user story starts by understanding that user, their profile, their persona. And then their persona will then lead us to what they want to perform, what they need from the product. And then we'll end with why they need that product or why they need that function. And there's this interesting video that I saw. Someone sent like an iPad to someone, and the person was using the iPad to chop vegetable or to chop stuff. That's because the person using the iPad didn't quite understand the benefit, the reason, or the usage for that iPad. So at times where I come from, not even where I come from, they say if the purpose of a thing is not known, if the reason why we need a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. If I don't know why you want to log in, it's possible that I will design it in such a way that it won't meet your expectation. Because all of the things that we're going to be doing in Agile or in Scrum is creating the user stories and delivering the user stories. So we have the role or the who, user role, what they want to perform, the function that they want to perform, and then the benefit. So this is a simple user story template. As a type of user, I want to perform this so that I can get this benefit. Everything that you're going to be working on will be on user stories in Agile or in Scrum. Because again, what we want to do, our top priority is to satisfy the customers. So we need to understand them. So every user story usually has a flow. And I use the 3 C's to represent the flow. Typically, a user story starts with a card. Traditionally, user stories are written in a card. So what you have here is like a card. The product owner meets with the stakeholders, meets with the users, and gets an understanding of what they need, and then write it in a card. That's the first C. The second C is conversation. The product owner with the development team and some other people would then gather together and start having conversation about that user story, just to be able to provide shared understanding. If I want to develop something, I need to understand what the thing is about. The second C is what helps us to achieve that understanding. Conversation. And then the third C is confirmation. How are we going to know that we have successfully delivered this, this functionality? And then you have like maybe your test cases or your acceptance criteria. And then there's this thing called, so how do you know if a user story, for example, has been effectively written? Because if you make a mistake in your user story, you're going to develop a very good product that has a lot of mistakes. So if you make a mistake with understanding what is needed, you're going to develop everything, but you're going to develop everything that is wrong. If you're wrong in your user story, you're going to develop a product that is wrong. So how do you know if a user story has been effectively created? There is something that is used to check if a user story has been effectively created and if it meets some certain standard or some quality standard. That thing is called INVEST, INVEST, and it's an acronym. The I stands for independent. Every user story has to be independent. A user story shouldn't be dependent on another thing. Because we don't have control on that thing, we may not be able to deliver it. And what we want to do is we want to deliver those user stories. So a user story has to be independent, should be able to stand on its own. The second thing, N, is negotiable. A user story has to be negotiable. When having a conversation, we should be able to say, okay, how about we do it this way? Is it better this way? And all of that. Negotiable. The third element of INVEST, V, is valuable. If a user story doesn't add value to the stakeholder, then it's not anything that we should focus on. Because what we want to do is deliver valuable product. Because Agile is value driven. So if you have a user story that doesn't add any value to any stakeholder, then we shouldn't spend time, we shouldn't waste time on that. Or we shouldn't prioritize it. Valuable. The fourth one, E, is estimable. We should be able to estimate the size or the complexity of a user story. If we can't estimate it, then it's too big. Then it's too complex. The S is small. Remember, it's incremental. Deliver small and continue to improve. If it's too big, then we won't be able to deliver in a shorter time scale. There is no value in customers waiting for 1 year to receive anything at all. What is the smallest value that we can quickly add to them? What is the minimal value that we can quickly deliver to them on this product? Whatever it is that we're going to be working on should be small enough to be completed within that sprint. And then the last, which is T, is testable. Testable. It should be testable. We should have a unified definition of great. We should have a unified definition of success. It should be testable. We should know when we are done and when it's going to be accepted. So these are the 3 C's of how we check that a user story is great. I'm going to stop here. I know we have 5 minutes. I'm going to stop here. Yeah.
Hey, thank you so much for leading us on Agile and Scrum today. We have some questions for you in the question box. And if it's okay, I'm going to project those questions so that we can see which ones we get to answer. Oh, God, I don't think I can project this because they're questions, but I believe everyone can probably see them. And I want to go from the bottom up. The IBM Enterprise Design Thinking has some similarities to Scrum process. How can a non-STEM career person switch to a Scrum Master role?
Good question. So design thinking is one of the philosophies that's used in identifying customer problems, right? And if you look at design thinking, he has 5 steps. The first one is empathy. Empathize with the customers. Try to understand the pain point of the customers. Try to interview them. The second one is define. Based on your empathy, based on your interaction, you'll be able to identify the personas and all of those things. And then the second one is ideate. Come up with ideas on how to solve those problems. So usually design thinking and Agile come together to be able to deliver a product or a service that meets the needs of the customers.
Great.
How can a non-STEM person switch to a Scrum Master role? One, you don't even need to be a STEM person. You just need to understand the profile of a Scrum Master. You need to unlearn some things about what makes a Scrum Master not to be good, learn things that are required for effective Scrum mastering, and start looking for opportunities. I've had a lot of people who have come from different roles to become Scrum Masters.
So if you're interested in Scrum Master discussion, if you're open to switch career, or you're thinking about adding this on to what you currently have and you need more information, please contact Bola on social media for that. Another question here is, Over time, I have deployed these 3 skills, which are emotional intelligence, conflict resolution, and effective communication in resolving conflict constructively. How can Agile and Scrum be used as value addition in conflict resolution coaching virtually?
So conflict resolution, emotional intelligence, effective communication, these are all interpersonal skills that make you not even just a good Scrum Master, but a good leader, a good individual. How can you use those values in coaching? Coaching is all about 2 things. Coaching is all about working with individuals, asking questions, logical, thought-provoking questions that will lead the individual to, by themselves, tell you what problem they are currently having, or come up with the goal that they want to set for themselves. And also help them by, again, asking practical questions, logical questions, in coming up with a roadmap for achieving that goal, whether career or whatever goal. In conflict resolution, is taking out the person outside of the conflict and focusing on the issues and asking questions within the people involved in the conflict on how or what are the things that can be done to make sure that we get the best out of the conflict and then we resolve the conflict using win-win relationship. There are a number of tools. Okay, I can send an email to Dr. Adi to just send to Precious if you need on some you can use.
That will work. So I don't want us to go beyond 3 o'clock because what we advertised was 3 hours coaching, and that's all that you're going to get. We want you to be able to still go do your daily things that you usually do. I just want to use this opportunity to thank you, Bola. Thank you, Coach, for sharing with us today. I have learned a lot. I hope that the attendees today have something that they can take home. As we discussed previously, this session streamed live to YouTube. So let's say you're not able to watch everything because of time or engagement at home. Please look on the link there. There are YouTube information there. Next week, we hope to continue with our data analytics with emphasis on Excel, advanced Excel. Please join us again next week to learn about data analytics. I believe anyone who is a professional can use some good understanding of Excel. We all use Microsoft Office. So whether you are interested in switching careers to data analytics or not, I think you can use a good presentation skills. You can use a good analytics skills. So please stay tuned with us on all our social media platforms to kind of have more information about who the teacher for next week will be, where exactly should you join it from. We're so thankful that you have been able to spend 3 hours with us today. We'll hope to continue in this series. Uchi, do you have any last words for us? Uchi, any last words?
Oh, no, sure, yeah. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining. We're really happy to have this very successful session. We're looking forward to next week.
Great. Thank you again, Coach, for spending 3 solid hours of important information, sharing that with us, for spending the time to explain each of this concept. And we hope to continue next week, guys. Thank you for your time today. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Again, please stay tuned with us on social media. If you have questions, come chat with us. You can also find me on social media if you feel like you want a personal discussion. Please reach out. We want to get to know you. We want to know how to serve this community. If there are other areas that you think we should consider adding to the list or lineups, please write to us. We want to know what exactly you need. We want to know what skill set you're trying to acquire, so we can make sure we're going in the right direction and making sure we're serving everybody equally. Again, thank you all. This is goodbye, and have a wonderful weekend. Bye.
Hi, everyone. Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.